The morning sun shone softly over the human colony of New Dawn. Princess Zera woke early in her guest room, the pale light casting gentle shadows on the walls. Though she had slept, her mind was restless. The memory of meeting Tom stayed clear. In her thoughts, she could still feel the quiet strength in his eyes, the respect in his voice. Zera dressed quickly and looked out the window. The city below was waking up. People moved through the streets, going about their daily work. She wondered what it was like to live here so different from her grand palace on Velora. A soft knock came at the door. Mira, her trusted friend and advisor, stepped in quietly. "Are you ready for today's meeting?" Mira asked. Zera nodded. "I want to learn more about the humans. I don't want this marriage to be just an arrangement. I want to understand." Mira smiled. "That is wise. Maybe you will find answers you did not expect." Downstairs, Tom prepared himself for the day. He was nervous but determined. He knew the leaders were watching closely. Today, they would talk more beyond the formal greetings. When Zera arrived, in the garden where they had first met, Tom was already waiting. The soft breeze moved the leaves gently. The peaceful place felt right for honest talk. Zera approached slowly, her eyes meeting Tom's. "Good morning, Tom," she said softly. "Good morning, Princess," Tom replied with a respectful bow. They sat side by side on the stone bench. The quiet was comfortable now, not tense. "Tell me about your people," Zera asked. Tom smiled. "We are many and varied. Humans come from many places and have different cultures, but we share a love for freedom and hope." Zera listened carefully. "Freedom? I do not have much of that." Tom looked at her, understanding in his eyes. "Sometimes I feel the same. We have rules and orders, but deep down, we want to live for ourselves." Their conversation grew deeper. Zera shared how her people's traditions could feel like chains. "The marriage is meant to bring peace," she explained, "but it feels like I lose my voice." Tom nodded. "Peace is important, but it should never come at the cost of who we are." Zera felt a strange warmth in Tom's words for the first time. She saw him not as a stranger or a symbol of an alliance, but as a person who cared. As they talked, something changed between them. The cold distance melted away. Zera's eyes sparkled with curiosity, and Tom's smile grew warmer. "I want to know what you dream of," Tom said. Zera paused, then answered. "I dream of flying beyond the stars, of meeting new worlds, and of making my own choices." Tom's face lit up. "That sounds like a true adventure." "It is," Zera said, "but one I cannot take if I am bound by others' will." The time passed quickly. When the meeting ended, Zera stood to leave, but hesitated. "Tom," she said softly, "thank you for listening. It feels strange, but good, to speak like this." Tom bowed his head slightly. "Thank you, Princess. I hope we can keep talking." Zera smiled and turned away, feeling a new hope growing inside her. However, not everyone welcomed this change. Back on Velora, news of Zera's openness caused concern. At a council meeting, the Velorian leaders spoke in hushed voices. "The princess is becoming too close to the humans," one said. "This could weaken our position." Another leader frowned. "She must remember her duty. The marriage is not for her, it is for the future of Velora." Zera's uncle, a powerful man, nodded firmly. "If she disobeys, there will be consequences." Meanwhile, on New Dawn, Tom faced his own challenges. During a meeting with human officials, some spoke sharply. "She is an alien princess," one said. "We cannot trust her feelings. This is a political move," another officer added. Tom should focus on his duty, not on feelings. Tom stood quietly, but inside he was determined. He believed there was more to this meeting than politics. That evening, Zera and Tom met again, this time in a small room filled with books and plants. The quiet space felt like a refuge. Zera looked at Tom and spoke honestly. "I am afraid that if I follow my heart, I will lose everything." Tom reached out and gently touched her hand. "You won't be alone. I will stand with you." The simple words gave Zera strength. She felt something she had never felt before: trust. Days passed, and their meetings continued. Each time, they learned more about each other and their worlds. Zara discovered that humans, like Valorians, had struggles and dreams. Tom saw that Zara was not just a princess, but a person with hopes and fears. Their bond grew stronger, but so did the pressure around them. One morning, Zara received a message from Valora. It was a warning. Return at once. Your duty must not be forgotten. Zara felt torn. She wanted to stay, to explore this new connection. But she also feared what would happen if she disobeyed. That night, Zara stood by the window, looking at the stars again. Can I choose my own path? She whispered to the darkness. Tom found her there, silent and thoughtful. Maybe, he said softly, maybe the future is not written yet. Maybe we can write it together. Zara turned to him, hope shining in her eyes. For the first time, she believed that maybe, just maybe, she did not have to stand still in fear. The days grew warmer in New Dawn. In the small garden where Zara and Tom met became their secret place. It was quiet, away from the eyes of leaders and advisors who watched every step. Here, they could talk freely, without fear. Zara found comfort in the gentle breeze and the soft chirping of birds. Tom was there, always patient and kind. Each meeting brought new stories, laughter, and sometimes silence filled with understanding. One morning, Zara arrived looking tired. Tom noticed immediately. Are you all right? He asked with concern. Zara sighed and sat down on the stone bench. My advisors on Valora are unhappy. They say I am forgetting my duty. Tom frowned. What do they want from you? To obey. To marry without question. They say the alliance depends on it. But I feel like they want to control me. Tom nodded slowly. It is the same with humans sometimes. People want us to follow rules, even if it hurts. Zara looked at him with hope. Then maybe you understand why I hesitate. Tom reached out and took her hand gently. I do, and I want to help. As their bond grew, not everyone was happy. Rumors began to spread among the Valorian Council that Zara was too friendly with the humans. Some leaders feared she was losing loyalty to her people. Back on Valora, Zara's uncle spoke sharply to the council. She is weak. This is dangerous. If she disobeys, we must act. But a younger leader disagreed. Perhaps this friendship could bring real peace. We should listen. The council was divided, and tensions grew. On New Dawn, Tom faced his own challenges. Some of his fellow soldiers mocked him for spending time with the princess. Why waste your time? One asked, she's just an alien. But Tom stood firm. She's not just that. She's a person, and this could be bigger than us. His courage inspired a few others to be curious, but many remained doubtful. One afternoon, Zara and Tom took a walk through the colony's market. The colors, smells, and sounds were new to Zara. She watched children playing, families talking, and workers building. Tom smiled. This is our home. It's not perfect, but it's ours. Zara looked around, feeling a strange sense of belonging. I want to see more of your world. Tom nodded. I want to show you. That evening, Zara shared a secret. When I was a child, I dreamed of flying alone among the stars, but I was told it was impossible. Tom listened carefully. Sometimes, dreams can guide us, even if others don't believe. Zara's eyes shone. I want to believe that now. Their hands found each other again, fingers gently touching. It was a small sign, but it meant a lot. But opposition grew stronger. Zara received a warning from Valora's leaders. They demanded she return immediately or face punishment, torn between duty and desire. Zara felt the weight of her people's expectations pressing down. She confided in Tom. If I go back now, I lose my chance. If I stay, I risk everything. Tom looked determined. We will find a way. You don't have to do this alone. Late at night, Zara sat on the balcony, staring at the stars. She thought of her home, her people, and the future. Could she break free from the past and choose her own path? Could she trust a human in a universe full of danger? Tom joined her, quietly placing his hand over hers. Together, he said, we can face whatever comes. Zara smiled, hope growing inside her heart. As the days passed, their bond grew stronger. Zara and Tom became not just allies, but friends who believed in a better future. Though the road was uncertain and challenges awaited, they knew one thing clearly. They would face them side by side. The soft light of dawn spilled over New Dawn, but inside the palace of Velora, tension filled the air. The leaders had gathered once again. The discussions were more serious now. Zara's refusal to fully accept the arranged marriage was no longer just a private matter, it had become a political problem. We cannot allow her to choose on her own. Zara's uncle said firmly, the alliance must be sealed. But the people are restless, another voice answered. They whisper about change. If we force her, it could spark rebellion. Zara listened from a distance, hidden in the shadows of the hall. Her heart ached. She wanted peace, but not at the cost of her freedom. Back on New Dawn, Tom and Zara met as usual in the garden. The flowers were blooming, but the air felt heavy with worry. I heard about the talks on Velora, Tom said quietly. Zara nodded. They plan to bring me home soon. They fear what my choice could mean. Tom took her hand gently. Then we must find a way to show them there is a better path. Zara looked into his eyes and saw hope. But how? They have power, and I am only one. Tom smiled softly. Sometimes one person can inspire many. That night, Zara's dreams were filled with memories of her childhood, the strict lessons, the cold walls, the voices telling her to obey. But there was also a new image, a crowd of people, young and old, standing together and speaking for change. She woke with a start. Maybe the rebellion was not far off. Maybe it was already beginning. In the quiet corners of Velora, whispers grew. Louder, citizens spoke in hushed tones about freedom and choice. Some secretly supported Zara's courage. They wanted to break free from old rules that kept them bound. One night, a small group gathered in a hidden room. Among them was Mira, Zara's friend. We must protect Zara, Mira said. She is the symbol of change. But the council will punish anyone who opposes. Another voice warned. We have to be careful. Mira replied, but we cannot. Stay silent. Meanwhile, Tom worked to prepare the human colony for what might come. He spoke with leaders, soldiers, and citizens. We face a moment of change, he told them. If we act with wisdom and courage, we can build a future together with Velora. Some listened. Some doubted. But Tom's hope was strong. One evening, Zara received a secret message from the rebels on Velora. It was a simple note. We stand with you. Be brave. Tears filled Zara's eyes. She knew she was not alone. She met Tom in the garden and showed him the note. They believe in me, she whispered. Tom squeezed her hand. And I believe in you. The days passed quickly. Zara and Tom planned how to face the coming challenges. They knew the leaders on Velora would not easily accept change. But they also knew the people wanted hope. Together, they decided to send a message of peace and choice to Velora's citizens. They hoped it would inspire others to speak up. Then came a dark night. A loud explosion shook the city. Alarms rang out. People ran to find safety. Zara and Tom rushed to the source of the noise. A group opposed to change had attacked a rebel. Meeting place, the rebels fought bravely but were outnumbered. Zara's heart pounded. This conflict was more real than she had feared. In the chaos, Zara stood tall. She spoke to the crowd, her voice steady. We do not want war. We want freedom and peace. Let us find a way to live together, respecting all voices. Her words spread quickly, giving strength to those who hoped for change. Tom stood beside her, ready to protect and support. The shadow of rebellion was no longer hidden. It was part of the future they had to face. But Zara and Tom believed that, even in the darkest times, hope could shine through. Together, they prepared to fight not with weapons, but with courage and trust. The city of New Dawn was quiet, but beneath its calm surface, tension grew stronger every day. The rebellion on Velora was spreading, and the leaders on both sides watched closely. Zara and Tom knew that trust was fragile, and danger could come from anywhere. One morning, Zara received an unexpected visitor. It was Darren, one of her closest advisors from Velora. He had traveled secretly to meet her, Princess. Darren said in a low voice, I come with a warning. Zara looked at him carefully. What is it? There are those who do not want peace. They plan to stop the marriage by force if needed. They fear what your choice means. Zara's heart sank. How can we stop them? Darren's eyes were filled with worry. Some in the council have made plans. They want to betray the humans and keep control. Tom stood nearby, listening with growing concern. We must be careful. This could destroy everything. Days passed, and Zara felt the weight of betrayal pressing down. She could no longer trust everyone around her. The people she thought were friends might be enemies in disguise. One evening, as Zara and Tom met in the garden, a messenger arrived with urgent news. Princess Zara. The messenger said, "There has been an attack on the human embassy on Valora. It was not an accident." Zara's hands trembled. They want to destroy the alliance. Tom's voice was firm. We must protect each other now more than ever. The betrayal was closer than they thought. One night, while Zara was in her room, she overheard voices outside. She hid behind a curtain and listened. Darren was speaking to a group of men. The princess will never agree to the marriage. We must stop Tom and the humans before it is too late. Zara's heart raced. Darren was part of the betrayal. She stepped back silently, feeling shock and sadness. The next day, Zara told Tom what she had heard. We must act quickly. Tom said, if Darren is working against us, we need to protect the peace talks. They gathered their trusted friends and planned carefully. Zara sent secret messages to the rebels on Valora, warning them to stay safe. But the traitors moved faster. During a public event where Zara and Tom were to speak about peace, chaos erupted. A group of armed men stormed the stage, shouting threats. Zara's guards quickly moved to protect her, but the attack shook everyone. Tom stood firmly beside Zara, shielding her with his body. The crowd panicked, but the leaders of both sides tried to calm them. After the attack, Zara and Tom were more determined than ever. This betrayal shows how important our mission is, Zara said. We cannot give up. Tom nodded. We will fight with words and courage. The truth will win. But trust was hard to rebuild. Zara knew she had to face Darren. She confronted him in the palace. Why? Darren, why betray us? Darren's eyes were cold. Because I believe humans are a danger to Valora. We must protect our people, no matter the cost. Zara's voice was strong. True strength is in trust and understanding, not fear. Darren sneered and left, refusing to listen. The betrayal had shaken their world. But Zara and Tom held on to hope. Together, they prepared for the challenges ahead, knowing the road would be difficult. But their bond was stronger, and their hearts were united. The days after the attack were tense. Zara and Tom knew that the betrayal was only the beginning of a bigger struggle. Both Valora and New Dawn were on edge. Fear and anger threatened to pull them apart, but Zara and Tom refused to give up. They met often in the quiet garden, speaking in low voices, planning their next steps. We cannot fight with weapons, Zara said firmly. Our strength is in trust and hope. Tom nodded. We need to show both our peoples that peace is possible. They decided to hold a public meeting, one where leaders and citizens from both worlds could come together to talk honestly. It was a risky plan, but it was their best chance to unite people. The day of the meeting arrived. The large hall was filled with voices, some filled with hope, others with doubt. Zara stood at the front, calm but strong. My people, she began. I stand here not just as a princess, but as someone who believes in a future where we choose love over fear and unity over hate. Tom stepped beside her. We face many challenges, but together we can overcome them. We are stronger when we trust each other. The room grew silent. Some leaders looked skeptical, but many in the crowd began to nod. People who wanted change saw hope in Zara and Tom's words. Suddenly, a group of rebel leaders stepped forward. We support the princess and the alliance, one said. We want peace, not war. The applause that followed was loud and clear. But not everyone agreed. A faction of Valorian leaders remained opposed, arguing that the old ways must be preserved. The tension in the hall was thick. Zara held up her hand for silence. We cannot move forward if we fight each other, she said. Let us find common ground. Tom added. Our strength is in understanding. We may be different, but we share the same hopes. After the meeting, Zara and Tom met with the leaders to discuss a plan for cooperation. They agreed to create a council with members from both worlds. The council's goal was to listen, learn, and work together. It was a small step, but a hopeful one. Meanwhile, the rebel groups grew stronger, protecting those who wanted change and resisting the forces of fear. Zara visited the rebel camps in secret, meeting brave men and women who believed in a new future. We fight not for war, but for choice. One rebel leader told her, "Your courage gives us strength." Zara felt proud but humble. She knew the road ahead was still hard. Tom worked with the human leaders to improve communication and support for Velora. He believed that open hearts could change old minds. One day, Tom and Zara walked through the market together, holding hands openly. It was a small act, but it showed people that trust was real. But peace was fragile. Rumors of a new attack spread. Some still wanted to stop the alliance by force. Zara and Tom prepared carefully, strengthening security and building alliances. "We must be ready," Tom said, "but never lose hope." Zara smiled. "Hope is our greatest weapon." Together, they faced threats, doubts, and fear, but their courage and unity inspired many. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, it felt possible. Zara and Tom stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. The sun rose gently over New Dawn, shining its warm light on the city and the peaceful planet Velora. The long struggle was coming to an end, and a new chapter was about to begin. Princess Zara stood on the balcony of the human colony's main building. She looked out over the crowd gathering below, humans and Velorans side by side. Today was the day of the marriage ceremony, but more importantly, it was a celebration of choice and hope. Zara's heart beat fast, but not from fear. It was filled with joy and peace. Tom arrived beside her, his smile steady and warm. "Are you ready?" he asked. Zara nodded. "I am, ready for whatever comes next." They walked down the steps together, hand in hand. The crowd cheered as they appeared, a living symbol of unity between two worlds. The ceremony was simple but meaningful. It was not just a marriage, but a promise to respect, to freedom, and to friendship. The leader of Velora spoke first. "Today, we witness not only the joining of two people, but the joining of two peoples. This union is based on choice, not duty." The human leader followed. "We celebrate a future where differences bring strength and trust brings peace." Zara and Tom exchanged vows that reflected their journey, not just a promise to each other, but to their people and their shared future. "I promise to stand with you," Zara said softly, "to build a world where freedom and hope guide us." Tom smiled. "I promise the same. Together, we will face whatever comes as one." The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. Children waved flags of both Velora and Earth. The feeling of hope was strong and real. As the ceremony ended, Zara and Tom looked at each other with quiet happiness. After the celebration, they met with leaders and citizens to discuss the future. The council formed months ago was now active and growing stronger. New plans were made, projects to share technology, culture, and knowledge. Young people from both worlds would travel and learn from each other. Trade and friendship flourished. Zara visited her home planet again, but this time it was different. She was greeted with respect and warmth. People thanked her for courage and hope. Her uncle, once a fierce opponent, approached her with a small smile. "You have changed more than just a marriage," he said. "You have changed hearts." Zara nodded. "Change is not easy, but it is necessary." Tom and Zara spent quiet moments together, away from the crowds. "Do you remember when we first met?" Tom asked. Zara laughed softly. "I was afraid, unsure of what would happen. And now, I feel free, because we chose this path together." Their journey was a story told across stars, a tale of courage, trust, and the power of choice. It was proof that even in a vast universe, two very different people could stand together and create something new. As the sun set over Velora and New Dawn, Zara and Tom stood side by side, ready to face the future, together. The sun rose gently over New Dawn, shining its warm light on the city and the peaceful planet Velora. The long struggle was coming to an end, and a new chapter was about to begin. Princess Zera stood on the balcony of the human colony's main building. She looked out over the crowd gathering below, humans and Velorans side by side. Today was the day of the marriage ceremony, but more importantly, it was a celebration of choice and hope. Zera's heart beat fast, but not from fear. It was filled with joy and peace. Tom arrived beside her, his smile steady and warm. "Are you ready?" he asked. Zera nodded. "I am ready for whatever comes next." They walked down the steps together, hand in hand. The crowd cheered as they appeared, a living symbol of unity between two worlds. The ceremony was simple but meaningful. It was not just a marriage, but a promise to respect, to freedom, and to friendship. The leader of Velora spoke first. "Today, we witness not only the joining of two people, but the joining of two peoples. This union is based on choice, not duty." The human leader followed. "We celebrate a future where differences bring strength and trust brings peace." Zera and Tom exchanged vows that reflected their journey, not just a promise to each other, but to their people and their shared future. "I promise to stand with you," Zera said softly, "to build a world where freedom and hope guide us." Tom smiled. "I promise the same. Together, we will face whatever comes as one." The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. Children waved flags of both Velora and Earth. The feeling of hope was strong and real. As the ceremony ended, Zera and Tom looked at each other with quiet happiness. After the celebration, they met with leaders and citizens to discuss the future. The council formed months ago was now active and growing stronger. New plans were made, projects to share technology, culture, and knowledge. Young people from both worlds would travel and learn from each other. Trade and friendship flourished. Zera visited her home planet again, but this time it was different. She was greeted with respect and warmth. People thanked her for courage and hope. Her uncle, once a fierce opponent, approached her with a small smile. "You have changed more than just a marriage," he said. "You have changed hearts." Zera nodded. "Change is not easy, but it is necessary." Tom and Zera spent quiet moments together, away from the crowds. "Do you remember when we first met?" Tom asked. Zera laughed softly. "I was afraid, unsure of what would happen. And now, I feel free, because we chose this path together." Their journey was a story told across stars, a tale of courage, trust, and the power of choice. It was proof that even in a vast universe, two very different people could stand together and create something new. As the sun set over Velora and New Dawn, Zera and Tom stood side by side, ready to face the future together.